Good news, everyone! I have returned. And we're back at it again with part 2 of Zezona. Well, let's just get into it. Now that you've picked your starter from the professor, Professor Wolfbane has some words for you. Might I say, go ahead and journey. The other trainers set to pick up a starter have not arrived yet, and quite frankly, I don't feel like it's right to have you wait until they show up. He then hands you 10 Pokeballs and sends you on your way, leading you to find Route 1 of Zezona. Making sure you have everything ready, you go ahead and pull out your camera, making sure that you are indeed recording. Remember, it's important to conserve battery, but this is your first catch, so you might as well record it. You enter the tall grass and find your early route mammal of Zezona. Now, when it comes to Pokemon, they all have that early route normal type that you just kind of have to have. It serves as a nice introduction into the world of Pokemon, and it works pretty well for design conventions. For Zezona, I wanted to do a raccoon, with the actual character it pulls from being Yuzuha, whatever her name is. Because even though her sidekick companion, Tama, seems to be a raccoon, I've heard people call it a tanuki, but it really is more of a raccoon than it is a raccoon dog. And raccoon are kind of known for getting into areas they're not supposed to be in. They are quite intelligent and very much a problem, especially within areas they're not native to. But with Yuzuha being a trickster as well, I had the idea of Raxkull, a little rascal raccoon. Because raccoons were mass imported to Japan because of the Rascal Raccoon anime. And of course, Zenless is by Hoyo, which is a Chinese company, but Yuzuha has some Japanese inspiration, so I feel it works. Now this little raccoon is pretty normal, it's just that its mask is now more of its head to be more of a ski mask. But like most early route normal types, it's quite average. Raxkull, the Rascal Pokemon, a pure normal type. Despite being so abundant in Zezona, many people say that Raxkull was brought in from overseas. Even if your first encounter wasn't that exciting, it is still your first encounter, so you catch it and move on. Of course, you stop recording to save battery, and that's when you encounter your early route flying type, Gramok, a mockingbird. Now, mockingbirds actually look pretty normal. They're pretty just casual birds. Despite how often you hear the name mockingbird, it's really not that suspicious or special. And that's kind of the point of this, because Gramok, of course, mockingbird, it pulls from the Mockingbird faction in Zenless Zone Zero, Hugo Vlad. Now, I have talked about Hugo before, but basically, dude was adopted by a rich family, abused, and said screw it, destroy the rich. But I figured just taking the mockingbird aspect would make for a bit of a better design. And of course, what does a mockingbird do but mock you? Exactly what this little gremlin does. A mockingbird gremlin that mocks you. Once again, your kind of traditional little bird. I feel we need more variety with the early route birds. For the most part, they're just small little flying things, with Pikapeck and Rookity being basically the more exception from them, but still, I felt a little bit of spice thrown in there, couldn't be too bad. Gramok, the mocking Pokemon. A pure flying type. Sensitive trainers are advised against getting a Gramok, as chances are you will eventually feel pretty bad about yourself. Now, having seen Gramok, you're curious as to what else the grass in Zezona, at least Route 1, has to offer. So you go around for a bit before finding the early route bug. Statiller, a static caterpillar. Now, it's based off the caterpillar of the Isabella tiger moth, and they are referred to by many names, but where I am, they're called woolly worms, because, well, they're little worms with a lot of hair. And it's that hair that kind of gave me the idea of static electricity, with the orange and black color scheme reminding me of Grace Howard from the Bellabog faction. who also just so happens to be an electric-based agent. So a static caterpillar just kind of made sense to me. Now, of course, I could have done something about, like, predicting the weather, because there is some stuff with woolly worms where, depending on how big the middle section is, that determines how long winter will be. Woolly worms are pretty cool, and it makes for a pretty fun early root bug. Statiller, the static bug Pokemon, a bug electric type. Statiller constantly have an electrical charge. Trainers who pick them up will always experience a small static shock upon first contact. Now, as you think you're finished, having found all 3 early route Mons, at least the archetypes, you decide to continue on your journey. The first town shouldn't be far from here, so maybe you can get a gym badge soon. Though, on your final patch of grass while leaving the route, you do encounter something brand new. Every region's got them. Time for the Pika clone. Now, this Pika clone, I actually decided on a sea otter. Now, of course, sea otters are mustelids, so not really an electric rodent, but I mean, neither is Palmy. Like, quite frankly, little small yellow mammal is Pika clone. It's not a rat, per se. With sea otters spending a lot of their life in the ocean, born and raised, water electric makes a lot of sense. However, if you're asking where I got Sea Otter from, in Zenless there is an NPC called Officer Mew Mew, who is supposed to be a cat, but there is a character and some dialogue you can find where someone refers to it as a sea otter. And I figured we already have a lot of cats, but not a lot of otters. The best we have is Buizel and Floatzel, and I feel like we could use some more representation. And because why not give it a bit of personality? It looks like it's sitting on its tail, leaning over to listen in. Got a little electric head piece that makes it look kinda like a kid. Just a curious little kid listening in what's going on. And yes, this is a rare encounter for the route. And the name being Shoko, being a mix of shock in Japanese, which is shoku, and sea otter, which is rako. So technically, shoko, it is shoko. Anyhow, shoko, the shock otter Pokemon, a water electric type. It's rather rare to find a shoko on land, as they more often prefer to be in the water, though they are easy enough to spot since they will constantly stick their head out and try to listen to stuff. As you finally step off of Route 1, you find yourself in a couple trainer battles, of course, because there's trainers all over. They have the basic Route 1 Pokemon you'd expect. Though after you get your team healed up, you hear someone shout behind you.
Hey, wait up!
You look behind you to see a girl with blonde hair charging towards you with a Pokeball in hand.
You're the guy the professor gave a starter to. I want to see your strength. Let's fight!
And we'll end it off with a bit of a cliffhanger for part 3. What did you guys think of the Route 1 Mons, and which ones will you add to your team? Let me know in the comments below, and, well, anyway, this is Jay, signing away, forever and always. Oh, bye-bye.